Hey everybody, Shay here. Time for another weekly update. This one's going to be a relatively short one. I know I say that every time. I didn't get a lot of reading done. 2 weeks ago, I ended up clearing out my storage room, bringing everything back to the house. I still had a bunch of my furniture. Not a bunch. I have very little furniture left that I stored in my garage, but I had to get that into the house, so I did that last night. I'm a little bit tired because I moved that stuff at midnight with a guy after drinking. Listen, we needed the extra imbecile energy going into the evening, and so we pulled that off. So I got to get things organized inside my home and clear out the garage, like clean up the garage because I want to do a reno on it. So there's real things to do that are real life based that are probably going to compromise the vacation time that I'm going to be taking off in December. I have to work one more week, which is this next week that's coming, but then after that, I'm taking pretty much the next 2 weeks off for the last 2 weeks off of December. We'll see how well I do in terms of some of the end year goals. Because the reading goals are not going to be met, but I'm going to give it a good college try, and I maybe next week I'll give an update on, I'll pick a bunch of small reads, that I can like try to plow through. I'm cheating the system a little bit, but listen, these are still things I want to read. I still want to read. I just gotta, and hopefully the other thing is that if I'm busy moving things around inside the house, maybe I'll play an audiobook or two along the way, right? So I get to like maybe min-max my time with that by multitasking in the most efficient fashion. So we'll try to line up some of those, and I'll give you an update on that next Sunday because I literally just came into my head that that's something I could do. And I'll talk about this week. So I only got Deserter done. Deserter is a 5 out of 5. That's it. I'm gonna get straight to the point. Now, strangely enough, the story Deserter is the last story in this anthology of short story horror fiction. They're one shots. That's Junji Ito's absolute strength, is just doing these bonker horror seeds that he ends up managing to pull off inside a short narrative that has like, it's not a punchline at the ending. They're not funny. But like, he's got that ending that like pops, and it's like, here's the point of this idea that I have to give you, and then you're like, yeah, that was a creepy story. It almost feels like nightmare-esque in the sense that it's like you just had this nightmare and you woke up, and like that's a Junji Ito story. 5 out of 5, easily. Deserter story, I was kind of thrown off by it as the last story. I was reading it going, I kind of don't get it, like, because it's so mundane compared to everything else. And then the ending happens, you're like, well played. Well played, Junji Ito. Anyways, so I like it. I highly recommend it. And as a 5, it might have been like a 4.5, but Goodreads, you got around. And so I go, okay, well, what bumps it to a 5 or what bumps it down to a 4? And I'm like, I don't think something bumps it down to a 4. I think that it was exactly what I expected out of a short story horror anthology. And it's like at the back here, it says it's like of his earlier works. I'm like, maybe I got the continuity wrong in the way that these books line up on my shelf. I've been reading them, I believe, in publication order, but there's a good chance, because he's becoming anthologies, right, that he's releasing these through the years, and then they just compile them, but there's actually stories in here that maybe, I don't know, there's like 10, 15 years worth of stories. I'm inventing that, but that's something maybe I want to look up somewhere just to see if I have my publication order intact, because I really do like to read an author's work from beginning to end, because my experiences get to evolve with the writer's skills evolving, and I really like that part of the experience too. So that's the only book I got to. I literally didn't touch any of the other ones because I ended up both gaming a lot, just to wrap up some games that I had started, and then producing the videos so that I can get them up on the gaming channel. And so, what would be easier for me to do is if I jump there and use this as a guide to get my thoughts out there. So I ended up playing and finishing Dishonored 2 weeks ago. I ended up producing the rest of the series. It wasn't that long. It was shorter than I thought. I thought it was going to be way longer. And from a story perspective, it was a solid story. I felt like in the last quarter, like the decisions I made inside the gameplay really did compromise the story in a way that was cohesive. It made sense. There's a lot of, I would say, like the lore itself is extremely rich. It's embedded inside codexes you discover along the way, but it complements the idea of the story so well. There's also like this myth or supernatural layer behind the culture that this world exists in that it never really gets explored. I expected it to be more reveals at the end about that myth and supernatural aspect of it. It isn't. They kind of leave it open, which is kind of neat because it really sits as that. It's like it sits as this influence that has an impact on the story and the people in it and the culture and what's happening. And this outsider component, this character that's kind of a neutral party, but not really, but kind of is, but isn't, because it's like it emanates certain energies is how I would put it. And then it's like up to the people that get these abilities to kind of do what they want with the powers that they receive. And that's sort of what you get to play, and you really do feel that at the end. Like if you go around murdering everyone in order to push the plot along, you're going to get an ending that gets darker because of this influence that emanates in this like maybe plague motif, the rats part of it. Like there's like they do it in very subtle ways that I thought was very clever and very well made. I might have to play this game a second time in stealth mode and non-murdery mode just to see what the ending would be like, or I can just watch a playthrough of it, which would probably be the faster bet. And very likely what I'm going to do, because I got a lot of other things I got to play and move forward with. We ended up playing Halo 3, and this was like 2 years after Halo 2, and I played Halo 1 maybe 3 years ago, something like that. There's like a year or two between each of the installments, but the story is so simple that you understand where you are in the plot. And I very much say like you have to play the trilogy if you're going to get this. If you're going to do it for the story purposes, you got to play the trilogy. If you were to just play Halo 3 without the context of Halo 1 and 2 and the narrative arc that happens in that trilogy, in this as a trilogy, the last third of Halo 3 is really not going to land with you. So I highly recommend, if you're going to play the series, play all 3 of the games. They're relatively short as experiences. So there's some gameplay parts that are kind of annoying and frustrating, but when you start to get the hang of what the mechanics are, it just gets more rapid. Like this one took me maybe 8 to 10 hours or something like that. It was like I played the first episode in one session, this one here, and then the second session was the last 6 hours or 7 hours or whatever I played, and the plot was done, and it was pretty strong. Like again, if you have the context of the previous 2 games, it's going to make the ending of this game that much more rich and fulfilling. So highly recommend it as a like just a romp, casual FPS romp. If you want also kind of a cool story and plot idea to kind of experience through it, then Halo 3 fully recommend. And then I started Dragon Age The Veilguard, and I have to say, if you want a good example of bad character writing, I mean, that's terrible, because I don't want to give the idea that I'm just going to be playing this game to shit on it. I love the Dragon Age lore. I'm speaking from a place of being a very entrenched fan of the series and the trilogy and the novels and the comics. I've consumed as much as possible, except maybe the last 2 trades of this. I've got the art books. Like, I'm a big fan of the lore, and so the lore is very rich. And I've only played 4 hours of the game so far, and I get the sense that they're going to do something with the lore, because that's the main like catalyst of this game, is that it sort of depends on the moments that happened in the previous game, Dragon Age Inquisition. But that being said, the new characters that get introduced, it's a very much a tell, don't show sort of scenario. And that's what I can complain about right now. I'm very early on. I don't want any spoilers in the comments below, by the way, because I want to give my criticisms from a place of pure, like, this is just my experience right now. This is what I feel right now. And I hope to express some thoughts that maybe people are having, but they don't know how to express from a critical standpoint, especially when it comes to writing and character development and stuff like that. I feel like that's something I can offer. And so I'm going to be playing this game with a very critical lens on the writing. I don't want to get into any Parrot Patrol bubbles of conversations out there. I just like, because it's crazy on both sides. I know there's controversy around this game, but I want to look at it from the most neutral place possible, but obviously from a place of a entrenched fan bias perspective. Like, that's inevitable, but that bias doesn't impact how I'm perceiving the characters that I get introduced with, who I think I'm going to be going on these adventures with, and what kind of arc I expect from the characters. And I guess that's the failing so far, 4 hours in. I don't feel the arc of the characters I'm being introduced to. It doesn't give room for me to ask questions as a player. As the protagonist, so the character you're controlling in the gameplay, you're not really given that room like the previous games gave us, which allows us to kind of speculate on what the characters are going to be. Like, are they on the more good spectrum, but they're actually hiding something dark? Are they on the more dark spectrum, but then they actually can pivot to being something good? Like, that's something that the game really gave us a lot, like at the micro scale and at the macro scale. This game has always been about the grain area in between, and that being the kind of sway, the pendulum that swings. It almost never goes to the hard polarity of like super dark and super light, you know? It's always somewhere in the middle, and that nuance really, really made this lore rich. That's talking a lot about a game on a non-gaming channel, but it's contextual. This is me talking about stories inside games, which I want to bring more to in the gameplay on this particular XEI gaming channel. So there you go. If you're interested in checking out my thoughts there, you can go check out that channel, and you'll get some, hopefully you'll enjoy it. And then that brings us to this channel and the update on the content as it stands right now. I have migrated all of, if you stumbled on this poll, you're probably an active audience member, and so your opinion matters. And then I will take that opinion and I will make a decision before the end of the year, because I really want to have a clean year start as to in general. I'll talk about that at the end of the year, right? But I'm kind of like trucking through this month. I have to like clean up a lot of loose ends that I'm trying to clean up by the time I get to January 1st. And so one of those is like the playthroughs like Genshin Impact, where it was more exploration heavy. Maybe it was going to be more lore delving, but for me to get to the lore delving part of this experience, it's going to be 20 episodes from now. You know, maybe that's too long, and it's because it's taken long. It's taken long for me to re-edit. I didn't get a lot of reading done. I got this done, and that is where the red flag happened to me. I was like, okay, hold on a second, like, because I already have a gaming channel, so I can kind of focus the gaming content on the gaming channel and then feed it into here in updates like this. I can talk about the story like I just did for this, right? I can talk about those experiences, but it becomes more like a vlog delivery for all of you. So because you might not be interested in watching playthroughs, and that makes sense, you know. Or maybe I can turn them into just a review episode that turns them into, I'll give you an example of maybe doing like this review kind of stuff for video games, right? And or like the tier list for the characters. Like that might be fun for a channel like this. I can maybe get more focused on the vlog I'm trying to give around the context of story and world building, character development, but strip it away from the video game content itself. That makes sense, because I'm doing it here as well, but maybe I can consolidate my ideas and deliver it here as a vlog. So that's kind of where I'm thinking, and I got about 3 weeks left to bring this together and make it work. So vote if you haven't already, so I can see what this looks like a week from now, and then it'll inform some decisions behind the scenes before I move on to playing things like Steins Gate, or if I were to play Yakuza, the series. Like, is that something that fits on this channel, or should I just be putting on the gaming channel and then talk about it here? Or if I play something like Ace Attorney Outlaw is another visual novel, but again, maybe that makes sense here. Like Steins Gate, I'm not sure. Like, I'm looking at other engagement signals to find out how well this content does for an audience. Like this episode 1 obviously did very well, but see how it goes from 165 to 32 and then 32 to 12? Well, that tells a story, right? That tells a story that maybe it doesn't fit here. But we're really in the channel profile definition phase right now, until, I don't know, 500 subscribers or something. So, you know, whatever I have to pivot on right now, this is what I want to do in the early stages of this channel, because I'm not attached to the decisions I'm making yet, because it's not defined. I'm kind of working on a profile, and I'd like to do that with the early audience that drops in. And whatever you're most interested in, go to that community post, vote, and then leave some comments if you want along the way, and then we'll see what happens. Next week I'll come back, I'll give you an update, and we'll see where we go from there. Cool, I'll catch you there. Don't forget to explore, engage, and inspire, buddy. Peace.